Welcome to my look at The Dark Knight Rises, the movie. There will be some spoilers, but they shouldn't be anything big. I am one of the few people that didn't really like the first two movies of this reboot, and this third installment is even worse than those in my opinion. These aren't Batman movies. They are the Adam West Batman movies made dark and grittier. Batman Begins was a disappointment to me because it was a very poor story, one that we have seen so many times before. The majority of the movie is the origin story. Again, why such a big focus on the origin of already established characters? The rest of the movie follows that old formula for superhero movies. Batman proves he can dish it out, loses first fight with the big villain, and then comes back and wins. The Dark Knight was also a disappointment for me, but not as much as the first film. Most of my complaints about the movie stem more from the direction of the characters, which I will address in a moment. While I don't think Heath Ledger was as great as everyone says he is a breath of fresh air. We don't get a villain origin story, and he isn't some tragic good guy gone bad. He is simply evil for the fun of it. Harvey Dent, Two-Face, was placed in there solely for the third film. To be fair, Two-Face would have been hard to pull off after the Joker. I mean, technically he is just another boss lord. However, the whole blaming Batman for what happened to him makes no sense at all. Why not blame it on the Joker, which would have been accurate, and you would have gotten the same result. Instead, it is a forced contrivance, also the people can be against Batman in this third film. Now, this third film is an even bigger portrayal of the Batman character than the previous two films. Set some years after The Dark Knight, Batman has retired his cape out of some idiotic notion that he isn't needed anymore, and wouldn't you know it, a villain shows up and ends up taking over the city. We are treated to a retelling of Batman's origin, thanks for that by the way, and ultimately the bad guy loses and the city is safe once more. There are some plot twists in the movie, but really they try so hard to tie this together with the other films, despite not being set up to do so, that it comes off way too forced for my tastes. Had they made all three films about one overarching story plot, I would have been okay with it. However, they made great strides to make the movies standalone films, exception being the last 10 minutes of The Dark Knight, but that was because they knew they were going to do a third movie at that point. That basically, it just doesn't work without having the setup in the previous films. Bruce Wayne Batman in all three films is just a horrible job of showing off the character. He isn't a detective at all. He doesn't really make his own gadgets, and we get maybe one or two scenes in the first film of him actually scaring thugs. The rest of the time, he is just a bigger thug with armor. What is with him constantly chasing women as well? Okay, I can sort of understand Katie Holmes, Rachel Dawes in the first film. I mean, it was a relationship Bruce had before becoming Batman. However, why is he pining after her? One of the defining features of Batman is his drive for the mission. Instead, we get a Batman that is so emo over the loss of his girl that he hangs up the cape and forgets why he put the mask on to begin with. What we have here is a character called a Batman simply because it sells. Christian Bale isn't Batman. This is Batman.
Who are you working for? Тебе эрт можно казеке, доса столи не будешь.
Értem, это что-нибудь.
Alfred is another one of those characters that I don't get in these movies. Alfred has always understood why Bruce must do what he does, even if he doesn't like it himself. He even understands it during the first two films, so why is he so against it now in the third? He even gets so fed up with it that he leaves Bruce. What the heck? He is supposed to be the ever-supportive father figure, making sure Bruce doesn't go too far into the darkness. Yeah, he has left Bruce before in the comics, but that was due to Bruce making many unmoral decisions that he just couldn't be a part of it. I have nothing against Michael Caine playing the role, but man, did they mistreat this character in this movie. Commissioner Gordon has been the only saving grace in these three films, and his role is fantastic in this one as well. As always, he is the steadfast cop, never willing to give up. During this film, he is torn due to his actions with Harvey Dent, but he eventually confesses and deals with it. When the city is overtaken, Gordon does what he is supposed to do. He takes action when needed, and he never gives up hope that they will actually win the day. John Blake is a new character in the movies, and he is a detective who is probably more steadfast than Gordon. He also serves as the driving force that gets Bruce to come out of retirement. He sort of had to, though, since Alfred was obviously not going to do it. He was actually a pretty good character to watch, which is good since we see more action and screen time from him than we do from Batman. I sort of have to spoil the end with this character a little bit. Don't worry, it isn't really important to the plot. The movie ends revealing his name to be Robin, and him entering the Batcave. Here's a thought. If you are going to give him so much screen time, he even figures out Bruce Wayne as Batman, why not just make him Nightwing and have him fill in the time that Batman is gone? We already have Gordon as a no-nonsense cop, so why not do something a little bit different with a character? Selina Kyle, or Catwoman, is proof, or at least I am convinced, that Christopher Nolan has never read any of the comics, probably never has seen the Tim Burton movies, and probably only knows Catwoman from the Adam West days. First up is the horrible casting choice of Anne Hathaway. Regardless if you love or hate the actress, this role fails on so many different levels. Catwoman is supposed to be elegant and smart, which is something Hathaway just doesn't project. Ignoring the lack of her cat MO, I never got the feeling that she knew how to handle herself. Despite the writing and what actually happened, her performance never struck me as her being in charge of the situation. It just seemed like she was trying to put on the facade, but never really being interested enough to actually pull it off. She also really isn't that crucial to the plot, especially considering the other female role in this movie, which I will not spoil. Oddly enough, I really liked the direction they took with Bane. He is supposed to be very smart, and I am glad they didn't go with the serum deal route this go-round as well. I also have no problems with Tom Hardy playing the role as well. One thing that I must give a little praise to when it comes to the Batman movies is that, with perhaps the only exception being Liam Neeson with Ra's al Ghul, the villains are always very well casted. Even in Batman and Robin, I thought Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy were casted very well. A shame it went with horrible writing and direction. My only problem with Bane is that he turned out to be just another typical Bond villain. Why didn't he kill Gordon Batman when he had the chance? Also, I fail to see his plan. His goal is to continue Ra's al Ghul's plan to destroy Gotham, but the method he chose not only went against Ra's belief, but it wouldn't have ended well for him had he succeeded. One final note or thing I would like to mention is the trailer for the rebooted Superman movie. I have a big problem with the direction to make everything dark and grittier. You can sort of get away with it when it comes to Batman, but this isn't something that should be done with Superman. Not only does the movie look to focus on the origin, but it also misses the point of the character it is trying to represent. And probably it will have Lex in it as well somehow, though not credited. And yes, I know Zod is the slated main villain. But why is this so hard for Hollywood to get? They have the comics and some very good animated series to see how things should be done. I guess I can't really expect or blame them too much, what with the success that they're having doing it the way that they're doing it. It's just really sad all the wasted potential they could have when making these films. Anyway, I don't want this to turn into a complete rip fest. If you enjoyed the first two films, then you are probably going to enjoy this one. However, don't expect this one to win you over if you didn't like them. As always, thanks for watching, and God bless.